Any type of cracker, pretzels, apple, chili, vegetables, chips, and of course, it's perfect to pair with wine or beer. Holiday meals aren't complete until Führer's cheese spread is on the table. Find your own container at your nearest local grocery store today.
Whether you're looking for a place to stay for a concert at PBA, a Nebraska home game, or just a night on the town, the Courtyard Lincoln Downtown Haymarket is the place for you. Enjoy an evening at one of many restaurants or bars within a short walking distance. Business travelers at the hotel will enjoy free high-speed internet access, a 24-hour business center, and large in-room workstations. And check out the Bistro, where you'll enjoy healthier food and beverage options, as well as high-tech conveniences. Book your room today at the Courtyard Lincoln Downtown Haymarket.
Attention all Wings fans. 89-cent wings are back on Tuesdays at Buffalo Wings and Rings in Lincoln. Enjoy the best wings in town for boneless or traditional at a price that makes the whole family happy. And now at the Williamsburg Village Wings and Rings, you can enjoy $1.50 tall boys in Bud Light, Coors Light, Busch Light, and Michelob Ultra every day after 7 p.m. and all day on Sundays. Get to Wings and Rings today and make sure to stop by on Tuesdays for 89-cent wings.
We're bringing heaven to Lincoln with a waffle unlike anything you've ever experienced. Heavenly Waffles combines an incredibly fluffy recipe packed with protein and a medley of angelic toppings. To elevate the experience beyond your typical waffle and syrup, take the opportunity to try out this divine creation and pair it with a coffee from the mill as we celebrate Heavenly Waffles Wednesday from 8 to 11 a.m. at the 93.7 The Ticket Studio.
Enjoy some Heavenly Waffles this Wednesday, November 22nd at the 93.7 The Ticket Studios on 1040 O Street. Parking available on 11th Street or in nearby garages.
Sandhills Global is hiring. Check out sandhills.jobs for more information. Sandhills is looking to fill hundreds of new openings in sales, traveling support, software development, web design, and more. Sandhills has a professional culture and is fast-paced with a focus on growth, innovation, and leading-edge technologies. Career and internship opportunities are available at our global headquarters in Lincoln, Nebraska. Apply today at sandhills.jobs.
This is Lincoln's home for sports talk on the FM dial. Also online at theticketfm.com.
On the internet.
KNTK FM Firth, 93.7 The Ticket. Coming at you live from the heart of Lincoln, America. This is Old School, sponsored by the Mercado by Certified Piedmontese. Broadcasting veteran Derek Pearson.
When you find something that moves them, that makes them smile, celebrate it. That's your task. That's your superpower.
Nebraska Football Hall of Famer Jay Foreman.
Rifles a pass. It was tipped. It's picked off by Foreman. He's at the 15, 10, 5. He'll score!
On 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
What up? This is Jay Foreman, my main man, Austin, right there on the ones and twos. This is Old School for an hour. We're brought to you by the Mercado, Certified Piedmontese Special Ingredients and Butcher Shop, located 84th and Havelock, 30th and Yankee Hill. Every type of meat and every type of cut. You just heard Nick Sandert and my main man, Chris Raff, for the second game of the day. A little bit of a blowout, but they blew out the job. They did a really good job all morning, so I got to listen to them. And bring it home. Now Nick is going to probably take a rest, get refueled, call the Class A championship game, Omaha West Side against Elkhorn South. Pregame is at 7, and then 7:15-ish, it'll kick off right out here on 93.7 The Ticket. So last but not least, the championship game tonight will be a doozy as well, called by Nick himself and Amon. But we're on to Old School for an hour. A lot's been going on. Obviously, you got the basketball today. Some of the assistant coaches talked. Obviously, it's official that I think that Nebraska news that, two big things coming out of there, I guess, for Nebraska is that on the player front, Ty Robinson's coming back. And then I think I saw, I don't correct me if I'm wrong, Austin, or not, that the search firm that contacted Rule was at San Diego State, or is that
San Diego State?
Yeah,
Yep.
It's only quite naturally too. I mean, I think he played there, right?
He played at UCLA, but was at San Diego State for 9 years.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah, and he's a Bruin too, and those Bruins stick together. Charles Arbuckle is a good friend of mine. He's a UCLA Bruin. He always talks about battling Nebraska, Troy Aikman and all that stuff. So I'm sure Tony White fits right in there. And then Kirk Morrison is a friend of mine from the NFL that does some media stuff. He talks glowingly about Tony White. So it's a good thing. I think it's a good thing when you have an assistant that's so respected that other teams come knocking or at least asking questions. I think it's a reflection of you as a head coach as well.
It absolutely is. I mean, the best teams lose assistants every year. Look at all the turnover Saban had at OC for a while.
Right.
Georgia's defensive coordinator spot has been a rotating door, and even more locally, John Cook,
Yeah,
his staff. I mean, it takes an eye for talent for coaches to not just identify talented players, but in their assistants. And it's not like Nebraska wants Tony White to leave. They'd love to keep him around, but they either have to really pony up, hope that Tony White doesn't want a head coaching job, or just accept the reality that other people recognize his talent too. So it's unfortunate to see him go. But like Matt Rule said, he's there to coach his coaches too. He wants them to go on to bigger and better things than just being an assistant. And he's going to support Tony White, whatever his decision is at the end of the year.
Yeah, I think so. One of the I wouldn't say something that gets put on the back burner, but I think that Matt Rule and his ability to coach the coaches, hold the coaches accountable, just like the players, and then encourage his coaches as well. Sometimes, I felt like in the past you had some coaches that were trying to hold back some assistant coaches, right? So that affects them to go get other jobs, and then it affects that way they can work for you, right? Because if you're holding them back, that means the communication, I'm just assuming this wasn't well. But I think from the very beginning, Matt Rule put together a staff to where he had, I always said the four elder statesmen were probably, I would say, the most have the most experience on the staff. There's obviously Matt Rule, Tony White, Satterfield, and Glenn Foley, or not Glenn Foley, Ed Foley, Glenn's his brother. And the reason why is because Glenn Foley is one of my favorite quarterbacks growing up because he was at Boston College and he always used to beat Notre Dame, and I hate Notre Dame. So, and Coach Ed Foley, right? So you got your four elder statesmen, then there's kind of, up and coming coaches there. And so, quite frankly, Tony White coming from Syracuse, he already was on the map of other schools anyways. And then we were lucky enough to get him here at Nebraska. And ultimately, the way the defense has performed, but then also who he is as a person, I think that's just as important as him being a coach. And that's what I think people do not understand. And that's where I think a lot of schools fail. You can make anything look good on this black and white, right? You can dice up anybody. You can lie to yourself this much, but the person generally will outlast and outperform or reconfirm what that record is. And that's generally what happens. And that's in Tony White's case.
I'm glad you brought that up because I think the initial move for fans is, here's an offense or a defense that's performing really well statistically. This guy's automatically going to be a good head coach somewhere.
Yeah.
Maybe. But
we've seen that it didn't happen.
No, because they're just the numbers guy. Maybe they don't have the relational aspect or the communication aspect. And that's why sometimes maybe there's a surprising hire. Like, why'd this guy get this job? Why'd he get promoted? Because he's a great people person. Because he has the coaching aspect down. Stats matter. They absolutely do. But typically the stats will follow being a good people person. If you can relate to your guys and get the best out of them.
Yeah, because you'll be able to put together a staff. They'll trust you, and then you'll trust the staff. And so that's a relationship building there. I think Marcus Satterfield said it's a relationship built coaching staff or program. But ultimately, if you want to look at the pro level, I remember when the Baltimore Ravens hired John Harbaugh. He was a special teams coordinator.
Right.
But then Ozzie Newsome and they went over all of his qualities of why they hired him. Had nothing to do with his special teams numbers. Nothing. They talked about who he was, how he was able to relate to both players on both offense and defensive side. Obviously, he has the pedigree with his father. And obviously his brother from playing, but also he's had to come up to, through a different, ranks. He wasn't a very good football player. So, but he went into coaching and he figured out how to work on both sides of the ball. And then obviously his special teams worked out well too. So, I think it's a good thing for Nebraska. I think it is. And then whether it happens or not, I mean, obviously I'd be biased and I want Tony White back, but then also you got to, be happy for people, if they get an opportunity to, if that's one of their goals. And sometimes there's coordinators that just want to be coordinators, and there's sometimes the coordinators can be the better head coaches because they actually are getting more out of it. And I think it's bigger than just what the defense did this year. I think this is when you kind of start getting calls, is that timing's got to be right. But then also I think you laid the foundation long before you got to Nebraska. So, I mean, that's how he got here. That's pretty much, I can't speak for Matt Rule, never would, but I'm sure it's not, he wasn't basing it just off of 2022 at Syracuse. He probably did some research on the person, his idea, how he's able to communicate. I'm sure they interviewed, once or twice. And I don't know who else was in the interview process. I don't know how it works. So I'm sure there's enough people that came away impressed and then obviously it paid off tenfold. So nothing's gone, nothing. He's not gone yet, but it's good. I think it's good. And then the other big news is Ty Robinson's coming back. I think, over the last, I guess, month, right? Ty's really started to, take off and be consistent.
Mhm.
And I think it's a byproduct of the system and the coaching and the situation, right? And the
Mhm.
opportunity. Because when you're in a couple years ago, he's in a rotation where they're 6 or 7 deep. You're not getting there. Now I think you're getting some real, hands-on coaching. Terrence Knighton put him in a little bit better situation. He's starting to flourish, and that's what you want. And then, I don't know what his reasons or whatever. But I think he saw an opportunity to come back and really dominate, and then obviously finish out this year strong. First and foremost,
He said that he didn't think he'd reached his potential at Nebraska, and he wants to come back and sharpen some more tools and gain some more skills. He said having an NFL guy as your position coach helps with that. This is where I'd love your opinion too on someone that was drafted. I totally understand and appreciate and respect Ty Robinson's decision to come back to Nebraska as a fan, but also just to see that he likes Nebraska that much to stick around for a 6th year, to want to make this place better. Yeah, in a selfish way for his own numbers and draft stock, but also he wouldn't come back to Nebraska if he didn't want to. He would transfer,
right,
and be somewhere else. So I respect that he wants to go down as better in Nebraska history, improve his own numbers. But he also had to acknowledge the risk. If he gets hurt, if he's not seizing on his momentum, I'm sure there are plenty of NFL decision makers that will see this last month and say, hey, that's the guy we scouted out of high school. He's finally put it all together. He's getting older, not super old, but older for a prospect. We can get him in a year. He'll be good to go.
Yeah,
But I'm sure there are some other NFL decision makers who are, oh, it's the first consistent month of his career. We need to see more.
Yeah, it's a catch-22. I'm a big supply and demand. That's usually if you want to look at it, Cam Taylor, Britt, and Cam Jurgens.
Sure.
Supply is low, so that means you got to get in there for centers, and cornerbacks. And so then you got to go. Maybe in some cases you might not be ready. And a big body like Ty, there's not a lot of humans walking around looking like him and
moving like him and moving
like. He's not 6'5", 300 pounds and sloppy. I mean, he's built like a grown man. He's been like that since he's been 18 years old. And so, I respect that he wants to come back and do his thing and all that stuff. I don't think the age really matters because, on the flip side, Ty really didn't play that much when he was young.
Right.
So he doesn't have a lot of tread on the tires. He's been relatively healthy. And I think his confidence is there, and it's a good thing for him, a good thing for Nebraska. I think he sees the opportunity, and I don't know anything about the draft. I haven't really started working my angles on the draft or anything like that. But I'm sure he had some conversations with people, whoever he needed to, and made a decision. He's a very smart kid too, so Ty's going to be fine regardless, and he'll play at the pros. And I think they have a insurance policy because if you're projected to go here and say you do have some sort of injury, you go later, you can collect on the policy all while still going to the league. So he'll be well taken care of. It's a good place to be, and I think NIL helps that. And I don't know what he gets, but I'm sure, look, why? I mean, those guys go for quite, they're not cheap. So I think it's good for Nebraska. I think it's good when you start to recruit too, when you see somebody that has the option, right? And really, when you compare Ty to other guys that maybe left early, he has a better option to leave versus they did, and he chose to stay. I think he probably saw that too, and he knows. Ty's a very receptive kid. He's a good kid, and he's growing up and starting to mature. It's just you just see it, and so it'll all work out for him. And he's with him and Nash, that's a pretty good combination. So, and
Jamari Butler's come on. Cam Lenhardt another year.
So, I mean, it's another year of seasoning under Terrence Knighton.
Gunnarsson can come back.
Yeah, all those guys, and kind of just start to have a pretty consistent in depth. And then if you add some other guys, and you got Van Poppel and all these other guys, and the young man, I think that he got in some sort of accident. He was a freshman from California.
Tagaloa.
Yeah, and so and I think he was starting to come on. At least through the, off season. So they have some pieces there, and and he can improve on his leadership skills too. So these, I think it's thinking about something, bigger than yourself, and and it's a good reflection on the program, good reflection on the coaching staff and the coaches as well. So, and that hadn't been the overall concept from the players evaluating the coaches prior. So, I mean, I think it's a good thing. So, those are the two biggest news coming out of there. And then, all the other stuff is, kind of just moving towards, getting ready for Iowa, it seems like, and, trying to, get that extra big step. I think that one of these games, like when you're dealing with a team that's going to the Big Ten championship and you got to beat them, don't go out there and overthink it. Don't play nervous. You got nothing to lose, man. And regardless of, you've made some strides, but you've stymied yourself. So at the end of the day, the playbook and what you did well and can prove on, it's right. It's obviously right there. Turnovers, being more consistent, fundamentals, and all that stuff, right? So you have nothing to lose going out there against Iowa. And Iowa's not a team you need to bat an eye against it, where you think like, oh man, we're out. They got better athletes, this, and this. So really, you stay keeping in front of you, and then you make the plays that you can play, and put your players that can make a difference in the right position. You can definitely score against.
That's the big question: is what's Nebraska's game plan against Iowa?
Right.
The conventional thinking would be limit possessions, trust the defense, lean on it. The shakiness in special teams, I don't love. Wisconsin started running it more effectively, and I was getting better in the run game as the year's gone on. I'm not saying Nebraska needs to go all air raid, but if you can take a deep shot, with DeJean out, I think Coleman and Lloyd can have big days.
Yeah, and then you got to be effective in the middle, and you got to hit some checkdowns, soften that defense up. Jay Higgins is a thumper. He's not a very good in space. I got to interview him at the Big Ten Media Days, and he's a great kid. I mean, even though he's the enemy, he's a great kid, and he was excited to get the opportunity, and he's leading the Big Ten in tackles, and he made a huge season-saving tackle at Northwestern, 4th and 1 goal line, stuffed the running back. I think Cam Porter that essentially sealed the game for him. So, I think with Iowa, that if you go back and even though it's a different coordinator, you look at what Whipple and those guys did, some of the concepts, don't think that's not a bad tape to look at. Because it was a very dominating performance by both sides of the ball. I mean, with all those 2-3 first-round picks, Nebraska dominated them. So,
and I think Nebraska's offensive line is better this year.
Yeah,
they've struggled late against Iowa, but I think it's gotten a little more consistent.
They're a lot more consistent, in my opinion. And if they could get, got to get a little bit better on the edges. But I think the 5 guys getting on guys and moving guys, you've seen it, and then they just got to be consistent with it. I think, they had 2 or 3 really good weeks. Really good first half, needed to get a little bit better in the second half. But I think at the second half, you kind of like gut punched yourself, or a couple series where you're behind the chains, 1st and 15 or whatever. So that's just, what they need to do is none of these games are going to be easy. You're not going to go, this is what the thing is. People need to understand. You're not like, you can pull a TCU, right? That'd be great. We're 12 or we'll be 11-0 right now. Going in, that'd be great on the way to college football. Like TCU did, and Michigan State did it a couple years ago.
Right, Pitt,
right. And what you're trying to do is, and obviously you'd like to win the games that you could have this year, but you want to be able to be consistently in the ball game. And then when you have that magical run, it's a 4 or 5 year run. Then everybody's thinking the world is going to end when you have 8 or 9 wins. And then you find a way to get back up there. And so that's essentially what Nebraska did, like before I got here, and obviously the 70s and 80s and 90s, and then, a few times in the 2000s, always in the fight, obviously lost some games. Then we went on that 5-year run. And then next thing then we're consistent. And then, obviously, the history is the history. So, it can get there. It's not going to be easy. And obviously, by no means am I, dummying down the expectations, because I've never, it's funny that I was talking to Matt Verzal. He was like, dude, he was like, ever since you were 18, you ain't never done anything and not thinking you're going to win. Well, I don't play anything for second place. You know what I mean? I play to win, and I ain't I'm not preparing for anything and not to win. And because I always felt like if you do that, you can always walk away from the game like, all right, I'm done. I've done everything I could do. And it has nothing to do, with athletic ability. So I always kind of took that upon it. Like, I'm just going to give everything I got. I'm going to feel extremely confident because I put in the work. And then the results will come. And sometimes you play your best and you get your butt kicked. That happens. That's when it really sucks. Or if you think that you're prepared and then they just get the better of you, then you kind of try to figure out what you didn't do yourself, right? It's never, I always feel like if you're always trying to blame people for mistakes and stuff like that, it's kind of like a loser's mentality where, you got to you got to recognize the situation and be wary of it and then go from there. And then, it's like, okay, for instance, right? Let's just think about this is when if you feel really that you have the head coach or a head coach that you believe in as a person, you have to believe in that person as much as you have to believe in the results, right? And here's a perfect example. Was it Mike Norvell goes to Florida State? He comes from Memphis, I think. Total change in regime after Willie Taggart. Okay, well, we wanted to say Willie Fritz, but Willie Taggart, right? And Willie Taggart was a Florida State guy. So then the deal is struggle kind of a little bit that first year. The second year they get in there and it's a walk-off loss at home on a sleepy Thursday night or Friday night game against Jacksonville State. People wanted to fire him right there. You started to see a little bit uptick in performance. Saw better last year, right? Guys like Verse came back. Travis came back. Unfortunately, hopefully he'll be okay. I think he is because he just had but a break is better than like ligaments, right? So those guys come back. Now they are set up.
Add Keon Coleman out of the portal.
But Keon Coleman's not going to come there if those guys aren't there, right? So it's a byproduct of the coach. And what he's trying to create allows them to be in the college football playoff discussion. So, and that allows them to recruit better, right? That allows them to build depth better. And that allows them to, if they lose a coach, go get a coach, maybe get in the coach's pool, because, everybody talks about the transfer portal. The coaches pool is kind of the same thing. Because if you have good coaches or good young coaches here or anywhere, don't think that the phone's not going to ring and they don't see the potential in their coaches, because generally they will use the head coach as the first part. Okay, who is he? What's he about? Well, then he usually hires these type of guys and go from there. And that's the way it is. And so it'll be interesting to see, how stuff goes on. But I think it's all a good thing, a good look on the program. And then, look, it's a big game Friday, man.
Let me ask you this. You've talked all year about the bounce back percentage for Nebraska. Do they have one more in them?
You got to have one more in it, man. You got to have.
You can't not have one more. Hey,
Austin. We've been talking about the bounce back percentage ever since Minnesota, right? Coming right out of the halftime. I was like, oh, okay. You kind of, dookie down your leg, and right in the halftime. Come right before halftime, turnover. They come right out of that bad boy like they don't know any different. Big return,
trick play,
touchdown. Okay, you start to see, okay, that's a little bit of positive. And so now you got to see what they can do here. Can you, stay focused? I know the seniors are walking and all this other stuff. I know that. And so as maybe we learned being on the road at Michigan State and thought it was going to be a distraction and it was motivation, they didn't have anything to lose. Take on that mentality along with talent and then, beat Iowa. So, I was going to come in, wanting the revenge and stuff, but I don't think it's as offensively a talented team as it was last year. So, yeah, I was always going to play harder. They're going to be able to all of a sudden have Marvin Harris Jr. and Talia, Talova up there at quarterback. No, they still got the same dudes. Just coming down to running, blocking, and tackling, controlling the ball and all that stuff. And, of course, special teams is, got to step it up. But I think they're more than capable. It's not like they haven't done it. They just had this off night the other night. So, the time is now. There is no more tomorrow. There is no more next week. There isn't no more, okay, well, we're 5-4. We're 5-5. Okay, well, all we need is one of the last two or one of the last three or whatever it was people were talking about. This is it. This is a got-to-have-it game. We got to lay it all on the line out there. We got to keep punching and punching, and we got to beat them, by any means necessary.
You used up your margin for error over the last 3 weeks. And the conversation's absolutely changed. But think back to last year, how fired up Nebraska came. Getting out to that start that they did, being up as big as they were. That was what the script was going into Wisconsin last week, too.
Yeah.
They found a way to do it. But the difference between Wisconsin this year and Iowa last year was Nebraska forced 4 turnovers.
Yeah.
Nebraska's got to come out fired up. I mean, Iowa's going to want to be there. You got to match that, if not exceed it, and then make some plays on top of it.
Yeah, you got to go out there and, have them make the first mistake because they're thinking that all we got to do is play steady in Nebraska, make the mistake.
Outlast you.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so, use a little bit of Iowa's kind of Jedi mind tricks against them. And then once you get a chink, Iowa showed you last year. It showed you a lot last year. The games have been close. And it always kind of had the adage of, all right, Nebraska get close, but they'll always lose the game.
Mm-hmm.
They'll find a way to lose. Nebraska beat themselves. Well, last year was a lot different. And you saw the panic from Iowa. You saw the things start to crumble, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then, so now when you step on the field, there is no record in this game. And so now you just got to do what you got to do. And it's a perfect time for the offense or for the defense to match Iowa's, vaunted defense. And it's a perfect time for this offense to put a lot more pressure on Iowa than they have faced over the last 4 or 5 weeks. You know what I mean? Give or take, right? So it's a tremendous opportunity to get out there and prove yourself, become bowl eligible and all that stuff, and develop, recruit, and just move along in the right direction.
To your point there, they've played Illinois last week, Rutgers the week before, Northwestern, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Purdue, Michigan State. Penn State put 31 on them.
Right.
They haven't faced a good offense since Penn State.
Yeah.
Not putting Nebraska in that category.
Yeah, somebody where you'll be able to, look like, okay, well, I mean, because Rutgers, they have a really good defense and their offense isn't very good.
Mm-hmm.
And at times ours hasn't been very good. So when you think of, okay, if we can get some production and consistency in offense at home in the last game, then, it puts a lot more pressure on Iowa in their cover 3 defense. And so, and then also they've had, quite a few of those games at home as well. And then going on the road, playing Northwestern, what they did, where they still were kind of in flux on who they were going to quarterback before they started to kind of get going, was a perfect time as well. So Northwestern, kind of had quite a few chances to really get ahead in that game, just weren't able to get over the finish line. So anyways, that's a little bit of Iowa. We're going to talk about somebody that's close to you, Austin. Shaq Leonard got released today. I saw his Twitter and I thought like, okay, that was it, but it's Thanksgiving. I'm going to dive into that because people always probably wonder how that happens. I wouldn't say he's an iconic figure, but he's a very well respected and known figure in the city of Indianapolis and in that organization. So we're going to take a quick break. Jay Foreman, Austin, Old School. We'll be right back.
Watch Old School live on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitch. Old School with DP and Jay on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
It takes a great game plan to win a football game each week, and right now, it's time to plan a trip to get a new car at Mullen Motors. Just like on the football field, there's a wall of defense on the way to Mullen Motors. 48th Street is under construction from Layton all the way to Cornhusker Highway. But the lot at Mullen Motors is full of tons of great vehicles to drive home this fall for the ultimate touchdown. Mullen Motors, still open through road construction at 48th and Walker.
No taglines, just quality vehicles. Mullen Motors.
Wall-to-Wall Wine and Spirits is now open in Lincoln. Shop our expansive collection of wine, beer, spirits, and cigars at 5040 North 27th Street. From top-shelf liquor to crowd-favorite beer, Wall-to-Wall Wine and Spirits has a beverage for every taste and every budget. Plus, join our loyalty program to earn rewards and save on future purchases. Shop Wall-to-Wall Wine and Spirits at 5040 North 27th Street in Lincoln. That's 5040 North 27th Street.
You don't think about your roof very often, but you should never take it for granted. Roofing Service Company takes every measure to provide you with the highest quality roofing solution. Whether it's a new roof installation, roof repair, or a re-roofing project, their overall goal is to provide you with a pleasant experience and a long-lasting roof. If you have a need for siding or gutters, they're your place too. Visit roofingservicecompany.com for more info today.
At Koppel Chevrolet GMC, we are thankful for so many things this year, starting with our great employees a generous community, our military personnel, and most importantly, our loyal customer base that continues to drive that money-saving mile of Louisville. Hi, this is Sean Callahan, and on behalf of everybody at Koppel, we want to wish you a happy Thanksgiving and safe travels to wherever they may take you. Happy holidays from Koppel Chevrolet GMC.
When it comes to tackling your fall projects, having the right equipment can make a huge difference. At Sunbelt Rentals, they have an extensive line of tools and equipment to help complete any job. From lawn and landscape equipment to hand tools, pressure washers, portable generators for you tailgaters, and much more. Sunbelt Rentals makes it easy to get what you need when you need it. Drop in to see the experts at 5450 Alvo Road in Lincoln, or visit sunbeltrentals.com today to learn how Sunbelt Rentals can make it happen for you.
Ever wish you had another light switch on the other side of the room on a dark night? How much better would you sleep at night if you had a ceiling fan in your room? The High Electric Service Department is here to make your electrical what-ifs a reality. Whether you're looking to replace some outdated light fixtures or brighten up your counters with under-cabinet lighting, High Electric can handle all types of residential electrical installations and services. Give Erica a call at 402-466-6606 or visit high-electric.com to get started.
A team succeeds when they work together. Banking's no different. At UBT, we're in your corner for every financial move you want to make. Your money's backed by a roster of experts who put in the work to know you and your community. So whether you're opening a savings account, buying a home, or planning your future, you always know who to turn to. Working together toward your financial goals. That's a win in our playbook. Union Bank and Trust. Equal housing lender, member FDIC.
Are you tired of living in pain? It's time to take control. At Prairie Orthopedic and Plastic Surgery, we're your one-stop shop for expert care in Lincoln. From broken bones to complex reconstruction, our skilled team will help you get back on track. Visit prairieortho.com today and discover why we're the trusted choice for thousands of patients. Don't let pain hold you back. Take the first step towards a better pain-free life with Prairie Orthopedic and Plastic Surgery, where healing begins. Call 402-489-4700.
Ever wish you had another light switch on the other side of the room on a dark night? How much better would you sleep at night if you had a ceiling fan in your room? The High Electric Service Department is here to make your electrical what-ifs a reality. Whether you're looking to replace some outdated light fixtures or brighten up your counters with under-cabinet lighting, High Electric can handle all types of residential electrical installations and services. Give Erica a call at 402-466-6606 or visit high-electric.com to get started.
Big box stores are tempting for buying equipment for your high schooler in sports or for yourself in your sports leisures. But buying new is awfully expensive. Why not go somewhere with new and used options? Play It Again Sports has quality, slightly to gently used equipment, and 50% of their inventory is actually new equipment. And it's more than baseball, softball, and golf. They also have equipment for disc golf, fitness, hockey, and more. Plus, they're always buying products. Bring your gear you're done with and get trade money on the spot. Play It Again Sports at 48th and Vine.
Leaves are falling and the temperatures are cooling down. But don't put your golf clubs away. Double Eagle Golf makes golf leagues and events possible year-round. Leagues are underway with winter leagues beginning on November 27th. Check out their deals on monthly memberships and schedule your Husker watch parties, birthday or bachelor parties, corporate and team outings, or just a good old Saturday with the boys. That's all at Double Eagle Golf inside the Kinetic Sports Complex on West O Street. Book a tee time today or learn more at Double Eagle Golf.
Back to old school with DP and Jay on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
We are back, Jay Foreman in Austin. It just got dark, man. I think I showed up, Austin. It was still light outside. We do one segment, man. It's like Vegas. You know, you ever been to Vegas?
I've not.
Okay, so in Vegas, the deal is, you know, you can go in the casino or whatever and just spend the day in there and then come out and it'd be pitch dark. Or you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That's the way it is, man. It's like 30 minutes. It's gets dark, and that's cool. I mean, it's understandable. They're about to kick. I mean, I'm sure the high school teams are getting there about to warm up, and Nick and Amon are warming up their vocal cords. But back to some NFL news. Obviously, we kind of alluded to it before the break, and the big news coming out today is that Shaq Leonard, who really burst on the scene from the Senior Bowl, right? Came from a MEAC school. Definitely was a different type of hybrid, slender linebacker build, but an extremely productive playmaker at college. I think he had something like 183 tackles, like 5 interceptions, 5 sacks. I mean, it was off the charts, right? And then he goes to Indianapolis in a little bit of a downturn, right? I think he was a second-round pick, and this continues along the stat line of being a turnover king. And that's when you needed every time Indianapolis would play or would pull out a game, he'd be getting a game-sealing pass breakup, sack, forced fumble, interception, fumble recovery, and along with a plethora of tackles in those first 4 years. And then he got a huge contract, and then he battled injuries after that, and that's when the expectations can go up. And then this year with a new coach, and this happens all the time, is a new coach comes in along with the new GM, no allegiance to you, and they'll keep you for that first year. And if you have a really good year, then all of a sudden, magically, you become one of their guys, right? And then if you don't have an owner that you have a direct line in affiliation with, kind of like Nelson does as an offensive lineman, he goes right to Jim Irsay. He's untouchable, right? Shaq Leonard being injured, then with the Jonathan Taylor situation, right? Kind of bad blood because he's been injured. Here comes another injury guy who's always already slight of built, shoulder injuries. He had the back injury, played a couple games, shut it down. Was a little iffy. And when he did it, I was
came back, got his bell rung.
Got his bell rung, and then back started hurting. And I was like, oh, that's kind of suspect that, for being an old school linebacker. I was like, yeah, you could have probably maybe pushed through it. Here comes a new coach. Franklin's taken over as the kind of captain of the defense, rightfully so. And his role has changed. It changed because he's off the field on third down, and then it diminished. But his stats were good, but his play when you watch the all 22 wasn't there. And I think and I will tell you this, he's going to have a good year next year, wherever he's at. Because he'll be extremely motivated, and he'll be, definitely looking for revenge. But what I saw him playing, I saw a guy that never had clear communication with the head coach. It was almost like the head coach was making decisions, walking away from it, getting a halfway story from the linebacker coach, the D coordinator. Everybody saying it's out of my hands. Well, whose hands is it in? No straight answers. Then you go into protection mode, right? Then he was only playing first and second down. Well, now you're diminishing.
Third down's the money down.
Right, but third down is his down. And then you started to see, then he's playing, protecting himself. The effort wasn't there. And I think it just became a mutual agreement to say, look, all right, enough's enough. And maybe you can, hook up with a team and make a playoff run and kind of get, kind of a new release on his football career. It's a sad day because I think when a new coach, sometimes a new young coach will miss the mark on a guy like that. Because I'm going to tell you what, Franklin's great along with him, Buckner, those guys, because there'll be a time that you will need a veteran presence in that locker room to turn the tide in there. And you're already struggling right now.
Right.
And you're going to be on whether he realizes it or not, you're on the hot seat next year, the head coach.
Oh, yeah.
Because he already showed you Frank Reich out of there. Because you thought Frank Reich was going to be there for a while, right? Whether it's Chuck Pagano and all those guys. I mean, he had it going pretty good. Now, the Andrew Luck thing. When you kind of pull the rug out of from under veterans that have the respect, it brings the spotlight on you, whether it's the head coach or the GM. Owner's untouchable. So, and if Richardson doesn't pan out next year, they will refer back to this right here. Because if you lose some free agents or some veterans this year, right, don't want to renegotiate the contract, kind of say, okay, well, you're not, we're going to save money by cutting you. So you're taking the fabric out of what made this job, appealing to you. And then it always goes back to the head coach. And that's what I worry about with the Colts and with this decision, especially now people don't think that it matters, especially doing it around the holidays. I'm telling you, guys are very receptive or very, they perceive things. You can't tell them anything because you want to know why? That guy, everybody's going to reach out to him and ask him what happened on his day off on a Tuesday. NFL mandated the day off on a Tuesday. Then he's still going out doing his charity work. I know you've seen that.
Yep.
You will have questions to be answered internally come tomorrow morning.
Which is just what this franchise needed.
Yeah.
More questions to answer. More turmoil. Great.
Yeah.
Things are hunky-dory. It's a terrible end. And I had kind of made my peace with it, kind of worried.
We talked about it a couple weeks ago.
We did. Kind of saw the writing on the wall. It doesn't sound like he ever asked out, but by speaking in public, he was saying it without saying it. I was really hoping that he would be willing to stick it out, that he would have a little bit more of an increased role, because think back to last offseason, we were hearing the same stuff with Kenny Moore, who was put in a new position, didn't fit in Gus Bradley's scheme, wasn't being used the way he wanted to. They give him the contract, they give him the role he wants, he's backballing.
Right.
Shaq Leonard, I was hoping against hope that would be the case here this year, because he can still be an impact player. He's 28 years old.
Right, he's young.
12 picks, 17 forced fumbles in really only 4 years. 4.5 years.
Yeah,
Only played 3 games last year.
Don't lose that playmaking ability
overnight.
No. I mean, you think of somebody that really burst on the scene is Quan Alexander, that was with the Falcons, and he, or Tampa Bay Falcons, and then he kind of bounced around. Now he's found a home, right? And you see him with the Jets. I mean, he is lighting people up like a Christmas tree, and that was all based on injury. Same like with Shaq Leonard. And the playmaking ability, the ability to play in the pass game is there. Yes, I think he could have played better, played a little bit more vicious, I would say, this year. But I think a lot of that has to do with it was two things, right? You could always say the player, right? Because I think he kind of overestimated his value, but your value has to be reestablished if you're not Quentin Nelson or Buckner, because you can't go up to the head guy.
Even Nelson had to do that. He really struggled a couple of years ago.
He did, but he had to go. He had Just Saturday come in, and he's gotten it going, right? And Kelly, right? And you see how Jonathan Taylor struggled, right? So it's harder to do that, to go up to the owner's office when you've been highly compensated and been injured for the last 2 years.
Even if the owner has a lot of respect for you. I mean, Jim Irsay's statement, I think, was a good one.
Right.
And that's what makes it hurt, too, is that, no, Shaq Leonard's not going to go into the Ring of Honor. He only played essentially 4 years.
4 years,
with Indy. 4 really good years before the 2 injury-plagued ones. But his off-the-field impact and how that locker room, all those locker rooms have thought about him, is going to reverberate. That's something that I think I underrated, was just how much that locker room cared about him and how big an impact he made in that locker room and in that community. Indy's going to feel this one for a long time.
Yeah, and it's you don't want to go into the last quarter of the season with that on your mind and in your locker room, and then you're going to ask guys to go out there and lay it on the line. Now, look, everybody be professionals, but you got an extremely young team.
Yes,
and you have an extremely young quarterback that's on the mend. This is his first shock treatment to the NFL. This is his first shock treatment to actually looking at the guys that drafted him. This is his first reality, is I could be in this situation in a little bit over a year if they fire the head coach. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And don't think Irsay won't. He'll do it. I mean, if he has this, if he has a sandwich and a drink with Jeff Saturday, Jeff Saturday
might be back.
It might be back, and that dude's gone at the worst case scenario. That might be your new GM. So,
we need to talk about Chris Ballard at some point too.
Yes.
He's had a pretty good track record in the draft. Not perfect, but it's hard to do. What he's done, and more specifically not done in free agency, we don't talk enough about.
Yeah, I think it's something it has to be something with his personality. I think, and of course, Indianapolis isn't LA, Atlanta, and all this other stuff, but it's a football town, a football organization. But I think Indy lost its way. Bill Polian took it up so far, but Bill Polian, first of all, because I know about Bill Polian, from Buffalo,
right?
And Bill Polian is very abrasive, very, very abrasive, like borderline ignorant. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then how the whole thing with Peyton Manning left. Like Peyton Manning should just leave whenever he wants, right? Okay, you hit it out of the park, you get Andrew Luck. There had to be something going on for Andrew Luck not even to contemplate coming back. He was like, I'm out.
Deuces. That's it.
Quick. Like, all right, I'm done. You know what? I don't want to play anymore. You guys have just zapped everything out of me, and I don't know where he's at. He's like up in the forest somewhere.
He's actually still living just like 2 miles down the road.
Oh, well, then
he still has his house in Indy.
That's even worse.
I know.
That just lets you know. That's like, yeah, I'm just still here, and I still hate you from very close proximity. And then all this happened with Chris Ballard not being able to attract free agents. And he's drafted pretty well. The best deal he's made is probably for Buckner.
Getting Gilmore was pretty good.
Yes.
But then Gilmore said, I don't want to be around on a rebuild. So we did him right, shipped him out.
Right.
But the Buckner trade to me is the peak. To get a guy like that at that age.
Right.
Yes.
And the leadership of him. When San Francisco had Armstead and Buckner, and they just kind of just flipped, and they're both like twins.
Right.
Both of them 6'6", 300 pounds strong and run like the wind. Buckner's a little older. But I think like with the Gilmore thing, Ballard reluctantly did it. I don't think he really appreciated him.
Right.
I can almost guarantee Gilmore would have stayed if he got a contract. That wasn't it. Then I think he went to Dallas. Right. And so and he's a locker room guy. He's a guy that can help all those DB. I mean, it's like you have these guys, you don't appreciate them, and then they're gone. Next to you know, it's kind of like, I want your opinion on this. Tom Brady was on the Stephen A. Smith podcast, and he talked about coaching. This is what people, and I said this yesterday, what people don't understand is when you have a good coach, you better go to bat for him and not try to run him out of time quick. Because I will tell you this, is there's not a lot of, the pool of coaches, really good coaches, is shrinking fast. Right? And it's no different when you see Tom Brady said it. Like I've said it all the time. I felt like, you know, I had the best coaching in college, and I was able to go to a really good coaching staff in Buffalo, and then double down on it to go to in Houston, and then I was able to go to the Giants and San Francisco. I've been blessed. Some of these guys coaching ain't got no business in the league coaching. Some of these guys coaching in college don't have no business coaching at the level in the pay grade. So how does that affect the game? Tom Brady affects the game because you can be a worse player and allowed to be more productive based on the rules and the lack of development. So the coaches are just out there just throwing the ball out there and letting you go. It's kind of like modern day basketball now, right?
Yeah.
I wanted to pick your brain. What do you think about that? And that's the first question. The second part, do you think that affects a organization like Indianapolis, Houston,
that whole division, really.
Right? The whole division, Jacksonville, Tennessee. Well, Tennessee was always kind of like running it after Indy, but like Houston and just say Houston and Indianapolis, right? Obviously, I think Houston's got it right now. Affects organizations like that because you don't have any winning short-term culture that you can lean back on because you've went through Lovie Smith, then you had the David Cawley after that, and then or Bill O'Brien, all that. Talk about that.
Yeah, it's tough for Indianapolis because they bring in the offensive coordinator from the runner-ups in the NFL, who is known as a scheme guy. He's not necessarily a relationship guy. Now, there haven't been any rumblings or anything of, malcontent in the locker room, but you see Gilmore not want to give Shane Steichen a chance. You see Shaq Leonard, who Indianapolis loves, rallies around him, just say, nope, I'm done. I don't know if that's Gus Bradley or Shane Steichen, but new culture doesn't get implemented right away. And especially with a rookie quarterback, like you were saying, having the vets around as a first-time head coach tries to find his way goes a long way. The head coach can only do so much. Like, yeah, they're the figurehead, but you know better than anyone where the leadership happens is the locker room, between players, veterans to younger guys. I would have loved for, even T.Y. Hilton to still be around, even if he's not going to play. Just be Udonis Haslem, for Shaq Leonard to be around, for Stephon Gilmore to play a role. I think Kenny Moore can do some of that. I love DeForest Buckner. I love that pickup. Maybe some of the voices on the offensive line, but that's a team that hasn't been to the playoffs in a while. And yeah, they went with Phillip Rivers. That was a fluke. Probably should have been there with Carson Wentz, except Carson Wentz all over himself. But ever since Andrew Luck retired, there's just been no stability in the front office, in the coaching. Like Frank Reich, I liked as a coach. Sounds like he kind of lost the locker room because there were different standards for different guys.
Yeah.
So some of that's on the locker room, some of it's on the coach. But I've been critical of Irsay just kind of flying off the handle with some of his decisions. So to at least be able to retain some of the key players, this is where Ryan Kelly needs to step up.
Right.
This is where Quentin Nelson has to say, yeah, I'm still Quentin Nelson. I still am a pillar of not just this franchise, but this town.
Right.
I want to be here. Anthony Richardson, I want the same for you.
Right.
But even Houston with their transition, same thing. I mean, they were making it to the playoffs and all of a sudden they took that downturn. I think whenever you have those teams that, even Indy's in a weird spot too because of how good they were with Peyton for so long. And then the one down year, you get Andrew Luck and you're back rolling basically right away in the playoffs year after year. I'm sure every NFL team wants that pillar. Ownership is one thing. Owners don't change hands all that much. GMs come and go.
Right. Yeah. That's
really.
for sure. Yeah.
So yeah, there's some that stick it out. The Newsomes, the Steelers doing their thing. Even, with Canada being gone, their first in-season coaching move since 1941.
I know.
If you're not going to have that stability in the front office or on the coaching staff, you have to have it in the locker room.
Exactly.
And Indy's thrown it away.
Yeah, and that's the sad part. And that's the kind of I always talk about when I was in Houston. We were on the uptick, and they blew up the whole foundation of the team and turned it over to younger guys. Now, eventually it worked out when Kubiak came in, but you just wasted 3 years, right?
You don't get them back.
You don't get them back. And so it'll be interesting. Obviously, I feel for you, Austin, because I've been in locker rooms and seen that stuff from afar, and have seen players like that. I remember I talk about Henry Jones when he got released and he was a pillar, and guys like that. It's not a fun time. First of all, this is not going to be the normal Thanksgiving for those players, regardless of being in there, because they are relationships in there. And the guys that are younger already had looked up to him. And so this is an uneasy time with a practice and probably like a morning practice. And then you got to go out there and try to tee it up here in 4 or 5 days.
I'll just add this quickly here at the end before we go to break. Not that I think Indy's going to make the playoffs, but they have a pretty favorable last 7 games.
They could have made a nice little run. And
they still might, but it makes me wonder if either this was rash on the front office's part to get rid of Shaq Leonard, or if they thought he was a risk of detracting from the team and taking away from the mission. Yeah. I have to give him the benefit of the doubt for now.
He hadn't before.
But
I could see
I'm worried about it.
Yes. Or it could sometimes you take that assumption and then you perceive everything as that, like him coming in talking to them, they could perceive it as like, oh, he's going to go take poison in the locker room, which is, you get that with a young, inexperienced, not truly personally confident coach.
Right.
Because a scheme guy likes to be in here with TVs and
whiteboard,
a computer,
markers.
whiteboard, and go from there. So good segment, Jay Foreman and Austin. We're going to come back and we're going to give our prediction for this Class A state championship game here shortly. Old School, we'll be right back.
You're listening to Old School with DP and Jay. Download the mobile app and listen wherever you are on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
If you're not going to Memorial Stadium for a home game and don't have any travel plans for away games, there's a great place in Omaha to catch the action, the Inner Rail Food Hall. There's plenty of space. The Backstretch Bar has amazing game specials on game days. $15 Blue Moon and Bud Light pitchers, $6 margaritas, and $6 Moscow Mules. And if you're hungry, take in some of their great options from their game day pizza specials. Do football game day right in the Inner Rail Food Hall in Exarban Village in Omaha.
What a day. I could sure use an afternoon pick-me-up.
Hold up. The new 93.7 The Ticket location has a milk, coffee, and tea inside? Oh, yeah. This is a game changer.
Need an afternoon pick-me-up? How about a coffee or smoothie on your way to work? Stop by the Ticket Mill location on 1040 O Street to get your go-to drink or try out our new game day drinks exclusive to the Ticket Mill location. We know it'll make your day a million times better.
You don't think about your roof very often, but you should never take it for granted. Roofing Service Company takes every measure to provide you with the highest quality roofing solution. Whether it's a new roof installation, roof repair, or a re-roofing project, Their overall goal is to provide you with a pleasant experience and a long-lasting roof. If you have a need for siding or gutters, they're your place too. Visit roofingservicecompany.com for more info today.
The Southern Pecan Cake from Beatrice Bakery. They don't just let you call anything Southern, especially when it's baked right here in Nebraska. There are standards you have to meet, like a rich, decadent, moist caramel cake? Check. Bursting with too many large pecans to count? Check. Big enough to share with the whole group? Check. But delicious enough that you won't want to share? A big check on that one. The Southern Pecan Cake, the newest cake to the Beatrice Bakery lineup. Try it for yourself at Beatrice Bakery. Online at BeatriceBakery.com. Welcome to our world of yum.
It's the holiday season. Time for work parties, friend get-togethers, family gatherings, which means lots of eating. Maybe you think you've perfected your holiday meals, and maybe you have no idea where to even start. Let's fix that right now. No holiday party is complete without Führer's cheese spread. It goes well with any type of cracker, pretzels, apple, chili, vegetables, chips, and of course, it's perfect to pair with wine or beer. Holiday meals aren't complete until Führer's cheese spread is on the table. Find your own container at your nearest local grocery store today.
My dream was to work in commercial banking, but it required a college degree and I didn't have one. I found out that Doane had classes for adult learners on the Lincoln campus and online. So I earned my bachelor's degree, and 5 months later, I landed my dream job. I decided to continue my education, and now I'm working on my MBA at Doane. For me, the Doane experience has been life-changing.
Get rid of pesky critters once and for all with Bats to Rats. Their expert team is here to help you reclaim your home. No more sleepless nights caused by crawling critters or flapping wings. Bats to Rats ensures a safe environment for every family member. Check the website at batstoRats.com for amazing offers, and if you mention this ad, you'll receive $10 off your initial inspection cost. Don't allow uninvited guests to take over your home. Trust Bats to Rats for a peaceful and rodent-free living space.
Today's agenda includes office meetings this morning, followed by a client lunch, then back to the office for another meeting, and ending the day with a presentation at a client's office. When you are on the go, you need an office phone that goes with you. At Hamilton, our business phone systems make it easy to sync your office phone features to your cell phone for quick and seamless call handling, no matter where you work. If your current office phone can't do this, you need better. Hire your local experts. Hire Hamilton at hamiltonisbusiness.com.
We're bringing heaven to Lincoln with a waffle unlike anything you've ever experienced. Heavenly Waffles combines an incredibly fluffy recipe packed with protein and a medley of angelic toppings. To elevate the experience beyond your typical waffle and syrup, take the opportunity to try out this divine creation and pair it with a coffee from the mill as we celebrate Heavenly Waffles Wednesday from 8 to 11 a.m. at the 93.7 The Ticket Studio.
Enjoy some Heavenly Waffles this Wednesday, November 22nd at the 93.7 The Ticket Studios on 1040 O Street. Parking available on 11th Street or in nearby garages.
Back to old school with DP and Jay on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
We're back. Last quick segment before we turn over to Chris Raff for his show. Appreciate him obviously stepping in for me today. I take care of some stuff, but got Omaha Westside against Elkhorn South. Obviously, Omaha Westside has been a juggernaut since game one, and is probably the odds-on favorite, to win. Probably, I don't know if they're even, probably by a pretty big margin. But I will say this: me and Nick were able to call Elkhorn South against Lincoln East, and it's a different Elkhorn South team than earlier in the year. I think they adjusted some things on defense. They're big and physical. Mm-hmm. It's probably the biggest and physical, or the biggest team that Westside will face this year. Very well coached. Probably, two of the top 4 or 5 coaching staffs. I don't really know, in the state. Talking about offense, defense, special teams. Kids that are competitive, played against each other, and Elkhorn South is not going to back down, and so it's not going to be easy sledding. So I'm going to still pick Westside, but I think Elkhorn South is going to probably give them a run for their money.
My wife is a Westside grad. Mm-hmm. I'm going to take Westside because I want to be able to sleep tonight.
Yeah.
So
be on baby duty for 2 days.
Correct. I will take Westside and still probably be on baby duty just because, that's how things go. Did not realize Westside had allowed fewer than 50 points all year, which is incredible. But to your point about Elkhorn South not backing down, beating Millard South, I think, was huge for that team. I don't know if I trust that Elkhorn South offense nearly as much as Westside's, But Elkhorn South got their revenge. They got another crack at Millard South and found a way to win that game. That's huge. Even being motivated by that, it's them versus the world tonight. You know, they got blanked by Millard South the first time. It was 33-0. They come back, hold them to 19 points then in the state semifinals. So I'm not writing Elkhorn South off. It wouldn't shock me if it's a game in the first half. I just think Westside's just too deep by the end of the game.
Yeah. I mean, Westside's, immensely talented, well coached, physical, got a really good quarterback. You know, I think they obviously have the quarterback advantage, really good running back, really good. Obviously, they got really good everything. So I think Westside's going to win, and be interested to see how Elkhorn South, with a little bit extra time, what they do to Westside to try to throw them off their game a little bit.
What would you do? What do you try to do?
Well, I mean, the biggest thing is if I'm Elkhorn South, let's do what we've been doing: tackling well, being physical, being in gap sound. That's what I've seen up close and personal, right? And then I would give them some movement. I think the worst thing you can do against a really good defense is stay static. You know, whether it's shifts, motions, offsetting in the back, and all that stuff. Do everything within your playbook, but then also put in some wrinkles to throw them off.
Try to give yourself the Greek mythology test.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that if you can do that and then pick and choose when you want to take a shot, I think if you can catch them in a miscommunication, get them kind of out leverage some, get some kind of forward momentum going, and go from there. You want to look what Millard South did. You just played Millard South. You've seen how they, attacked them offensively and defensively. See if that's comparable, and look at what you do well and what you think you have an advantage at. They have to have some weakness. And so you just got to find it and exploit it, and then be able to finish the game. But it's a hard thing to do because on the flip side, they got a great coaching staff and great players as well. And so it's going to be a battle of wills. I'm interested to see what happens. And I'll be listening tonight. So for Old School, we are out of here. We will be back tomorrow. Peace.
Ever wish you had another light switch on the other side of the room on a dark night? How much better would you sleep at night if you had a ceiling fan in your room? The High Electric Service Department is here to make your electrical what-ifs a reality. Whether you're looking to replace some outdated light fixtures or brighten up your counters with under-cabinet lighting, High Electric can handle all types of residential electrical installations and services. Give Erica a call at 402-466-6606 or visit high-electric.com to get started.
Discover the difference that expertise and experience can make in your real estate journey with Next Ag Appraisal and Realty. Whether you need an appraisal, sales, or farm management, Next Ag comes up with a solution with your legacy and goals in mind. Next Ag isn't just their name, it's your future. So why wait? Visit their website today at www.nextagrealestate.com or give them a call at 402-380-0432 and turn your dreams into reality. Your land, your legacy, their solution. Next Ag Appraisal and Realty. Is your backyard ready for fun with friends and family this fall? GE Landscape Supply has pavers and boulders, which are a great accent for any landscaping project. And you can find them at 6701 Cornhusker Highway. GE Landscape Supply sells to homeowners and contractors with a vast selection of landscaping and construction materials. And don't forget, they deliver anywhere, nearby or far away. Stop by at 6701 Cornhusker Highway from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday to Friday. Go to GELandscapeSupply.com for more info or call 402-467-1627.
Integrated Life Choices has been inspiring opportunities for individuals with disabilities for more than 15 years in Lincoln and across Nebraska by offering a number of services. From group homes to independent living resources and job training, you'll find the support that allows people to live fulfilling lives. They're also hiring if you're looking for a rewarding career supporting people